Now, after months of persistent calls by former Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, finally appeared before Parliament to brief MPs on the Commission's proposed constitutional instrument. The CI makes the Ghana card the sole identity document to enroll as a register. Jean Mensah mounted a spirited defense of the proposal, arguing it will rid Ghana's voters' register of minors and non-citizens. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante report.
Former Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu had always insisted that EC Chairperson Jean Mensah appears before the House over this controversial CI. Madam Jean Mensah says this CI will help make Ghanaian election even more credible as she mounted a spirited defense of the proposals.
The CI before Parliament seeks to promote the continuous registration of voters and advocates for an all-year-round registration of eligible voters at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. It is a clear departure from the previous system where the voters' registration was done for a limited period. We are mindful of Article 42, Article 42 of the Constitution, which enjoins us to register Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and who are of sound mind. We do not intend to disenfranchise persons who qualify to vote. More especially, it will prevent unqualified persons from influencing our elections and having a say as to who should govern our country. This is an issue that borders on the sovereignty of our nation. Simply put, only eligible Ghanaians must be entitled to vote. And we call on our honorable members to support our efforts to prevent foreigners and minors from getting onto our electoral roll, that the Ghana card will not be used to vote in the 2024 election. The Ghana card is only a requirement to register as a voter. Once you present your Ghana card and successfully register as a voter, you will be issued with a voter's identification card which bears the code of your region, your district, your electoral area, and the name of your polling station. The Ghana card does not have these features, and therefore it will not be used to vote in the 2024 general election.
The NIA, the institution dealing with the production of the Ghana cards, which is at the center of this controversy, are also of the opinion that the Ghana card will make the election even more credible. Professor Kenatifa is Executive Secretary of the NIA.
With respect to the integration of our database with EC, the hope is that it will help eliminate the cost of periodic voter register compilation, card issuance, and voter verification, depending on which of these options the EC will independently select to pursue. But it will also result in the issuance of secure ID smart cards with 10-year life cycles if this were ever to be considered. But most importantly, it will eliminate concerns over voter fraud due to the high integrity of our database. There will be no duplication of voter ID and determination of eligibility based on age, based on citizenship, and also based on the person's identity, that you will be who you say you are.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has also been assuring Parliament that the NIA will get the requisite financial support to undertake more registrations and to clear its debt with the banks, which has led to the seizure of some 3.5 million cards.
To ensure that the 3.5 million cards will be released at the appropriate time for the work to be done, we agreed on 100 million CD transfer, and as he rightly said, 80 million has been put into the accounts of CAL, and 20 million, as he also mentioned, will be done by close of business today. So we are very comfortable about the situation to ensure that the needed cards will be given to the NIA to do its work.
MPs on both sides had questions, but some had comments on the presentation.
I want to believe that she traveled to Nigeria on a Ghanaian passport and not a Ghanaian national ID card. we need you to establish, and Mr. Speaker, we are demanding that this is established. We want technical evidence of data sharing infrastructure between the National Electoral Commission, the National Identification Authority. She says that 10 million people use Ghana card. It means that some 3.4 million use other references other than Ghana card, where their votes illegitimate and they did undermine our democracy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Can you explain to us why the proposed CI is very important and how the CI will expose impersonators and fraudsters who don't have any form of identity?
Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
This meeting.
Do you think God isn't paying attention to you? Why not pray on the Achia Mountains where God can be heard most clearly? You may have been praying to God to do something new in your life, but it seems there is a lot of interference between you and God. However, there is a spot in Ghana where some Christians assert that God's hearing is the clearest. On the Ghana Month series, Kojo Yankson leads you on a trip through the picturesque Achia Mountains in the Ashanti region, where you can trust that your prayers will be heard.
Nestled in the Mampong Ranges near Nsuta, the Achia Mountains are a magnet for prayerful Christians and church groups looking for a quiet spot for spiritual reflection and communion with God. The almost 2-hour drive from Kumasi towards Nsuta takes us through a rather scenic route of majestic mountains and beautiful overhanging shrubbery. It bears no resemblance to any other place in Ghana. Really quite breathtaking. We have a 70% Christian population. And this place, Achia Mountains, is fabled for its spiritual significance. People travel churches, travel in buses, just to climb up to the top of this mountain to pray. They believe that they will get healing if their prayer goes to God from this mountain. That's a powerful symbol, whether you believe in it or not. And it's worth checking out. It's worth a trip. You, the family, your friends, it's worth it to do the hike up this beautiful trail to the top of the mountain to see where it appears God's hearing is the clearest. Let's go. Now, Bisa has been going up and down the Achia Mountain for how many years?
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
Wow. These guys make a living from carrying food, water, equipment, baggage, and sometimes people up and down the mountain. How long does it take you to get to the top?
Okay, if I'm going there with nothing there, I can use maybe 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes. But when I'm going there with load, maybe 35 minutes to 45 minutes. Then maybe some heavy load, take me maybe 15 minutes.
So somebody like me, how long will it take me? Since I've never done it before.
How I see it, maybe you can use maybe 1 hour.
What?
1 hour.
Wow, we haven't even started and I'm already tired. So anyway, let's do it. And
okay.
Tell me, this place, who discovered it?
Okay, Reverend Osesibe.
Reverend
Osesibe, one of the Methodist priests.
And what's the story? How did he find this place?
Okay, what I've heard is one day he was one of the pastors at Efigasi. Efigasi, that is his name. So he was going to Mampong to do a program. Okay, on their way going, they get fought at the junction there. His car. Okay. Where you have to come this time, Abayusia. Yeah. So that time is Achia. Okay. Omunya photo until Ojina time Ojina on eyes. I wanna Onya vision be said on share police. Now, the honor on the BB or honor man. My interesting story is that but when I need Dikai.
So he was leading them?
He was leading them.
Even though he had never been
there before.
Wow.
But he was leading them to where they were going. It was not a quarreling for a Kojo come Terre Honoma. So one day the home what Tayan Casa would do a home and a casa at once no Muduana and a Casachena, a home in turning to move color.
You hear all sorts of stories about this place, people trying and failing to make it to the summit. But I must say, it doesn't look so hard. If even little Bisa can do it, carrying luggage, then for big men like us, it'll be a walk in the park. Famous last words.
Oh, you have started it, baby. If you are going to use Travis, hey, raise you. But I think one hour.
I don't think it's possible to describe the marrow-deep fatigue I was feeling at this point. It felt as if every cell in my body had been drained of its vitality. I had emptied my tank, my reserves, and was running on fumes. Seriously, I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel my eyes, my waist, my teeth. I was struggling to find physical proof that I still existed. At a point, I genuinely felt I was about to die. And we weren't even halfway there. Hey!
I can tell you, without a doubt, since I was born, this is the most tired my body has ever been. You would think it's a simple undertaking, but I swear to you, it's an experience you and your body will never forget, no matter how fit you are. We have been told stories of soldiers who stopped halfway and cried. I didn't cry, but I stopped about 10 times on my way up here. But you know what? Getting to this point, and by the way, we're not even at the end of the trail yet, but getting to this point comes with a sense of such achievement. If I've done Achia, you know, so it's like from now on, if anyone throws you a challenge and you say, oh, wait, if I've done Achia, then Chia. Right here. Let all the saints say amen. So what's the payoff at the end of that grueling climb to the top of Achia Mountain? What do you get when you get here? Well, for the Christians who make this a pilgrimage, let me tell you, they feel closer to God. Look at this. This is the actual prayer camp, Camp 3, the Methodist prayer. And let me tell you, we have learned since we got here that on 31st of December, this entire expanse was full. And you can believe it because they've got these speakers at all the vantage points so that wherever you're standing to pray, you will be heard. Not just by your fellow man, but by God himself. You can imagine that if you live in a city anywhere, it can get very loud. You can feel like there is a lot of interference between your voice and God's ears. But up here, there's nothing between you and your Maker. And the Christians who come here firmly believe that this is the clearest connection they can have with the God who made them. But it's beautiful out here, so you know it's not only for those who are coming to pray, but for those who want to see the beauty of this nation, the beauty of Mampong, the beauty of the Asante region. The view from here Not bad at all. I recommend you take your family one weekend, bring them over, and show them what God made.
Let's stay a bit longer on our Ghana Month series. Joining us on Zoom is Right Reverend Professor Joseph Obiri-Yabuamante, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and also the Chancellor of the Presbyterian University of Ghana. Grateful, Prof, for joining us. Now, to what extent is this belief about God's divine presence at this beautiful Achia Mountain?
Your question again?
So I'm asking, to what extent is this belief of God's divine presence at Achia Mountains true?
Wow. To the extent that anybody who goes there can really connect faithfully to God, it will be true. So it depends on who goes there and the frame of mind or spirituality of the person. And people have gone there and really have had some great and powerful experiences of God in their lives.
Now, as Christians, we believe that God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. So why do we need a specialized place to go and pray? What's the divine reasoning behind that?
Because there's sometimes too much noise in the city. So you would see that the idea of solitary places have been very vital and important in the lives of the great spiritual leaders in generations. So Moses was at Mount Sinai and was close to God there in a solitary place and was able to get the 10 Commandments from there. Jesus Christ went to a solitary place to fast and pray. Muhammad, the prophet, the great prophet, went to Arabia, was in Arabia, and he was in a solitary place to have conversation with God. Buddha was in solitary places, and St. Paul went to a solitary place after his call. And some Christians in Ghana to go to solitary places, Achia and other places. But I must say that it's very important to find some solitary place to pray and to be in connection with God. But the Achia Mountain is not the only place. There are so many other places. It could be your special room, but the importance of solitary place for concentrated spirituality is important in the life of a good Christian.
Oh, okay. Prof, have you tried it before? Have you been there?
Oh no. I have my other solitary places. So I have other ways of staying away from the noise of the cities.
Okay. So you just mentioned that it's important as a Christian you find a solitary place to pray to God. Now, I mean, what's the importance for as a Christian to have that solitude or the solitary place when I can just sit even here and pray to God?
Okay, so let me start off by saying that from a Christian perspective, human beings are created beings, and the statement I'm going to make actually is not only in Christianity, it's also in Islam, it's also in Judaism, it's in so many of the world religions, that God created us as spiritual, moral, physical, social, and environmental beings. And what has happened in our generation is that people are pushed away, our generation has pushed away the spirituality aspect. People don't like it anymore because they got more money, because they can do other things in maybe science and technology to give them what they want. And so they've pushed away their spirituality. And it's important that we understand that we get our full humanity, our full humanness. Yes, in physical and social technology, science, and so on, but we cannot dispense with the spirituality. Otherwise, our full humanity is not intact. Saint Augustine, the great Saint Augustine, once said that, "Oh God, you made us for thyself, and our souls are restless until they find rest in thee." So we can get everything, but without a spirituality, we will be restless. And you would see that for us as Christian leaders, one of the things that we've been campaigning for is good spirituality, good morality, plus hard work, and so on. Of course, there are some Christians who go to one direction and they neglect the others. They just go and sit there and pray, and they have not understood the God of the Bible as God who empowers us in prayer so we can go and work. So they just sit there, and that is also very dangerous. But spirituality actually sharpens and shapes our humanity, shapes and sharpens our humanness. It shapes and sharpens our reconnectedness to God. And so it's very important that please, the whole world will please appreciate the fact that we were created that way. And so even if we push it away, we will definitely, our souls will definitely go and find spirituality somewhere. And the earlier we understand this as human beings, the better it is for us. And so for me, when we are talking about development, we must talk about holistic development, namely spiritual, moral, physical, social, and environmental.
So, Prof, how different are answers received in these solitary places to those received away from a place like the Achia Mountain?
Well, let me say that God, the way God works very differently in other people's lives. So I had a conversation that your man had with the young man at Achia who was narrating the history. He says that there was a minister of God, that God directed this minister to that place, and God said to him when he reached a certain point that this is the place. Once in a while, God directs people's lives that way. So once in a while, God directs Moses' life in a certain direction. Once in a while, God will direct somebody's life in a certain way. It does not mean that all of us must follow that, but God can choose to have a special abode in a special place, and it is possible. It is possible. History is replete with examples of such things. And I could see that it is possible that Achia has that special significance, that God intentionally perhaps met a particular minister of God there and told him that he's going to use that place for a special purpose. And God is doing that. I have had testimonies of people who have been there and how God has specifically answered their prayers. And we do have several of our ministers. In fact, we do have on our church calendar a day that people go to our mountain to pray. And people come back, they have testimonies and so on. But again, let me repeat, that does not mean that that's the only place that God would answer prayers. We also know that God answers prayers in every part of the world, as you initially said, that God is omnipotent, omnipresent. But God can choose any place to abide there in a special way. And it's possible that God has chosen Achia in that direction. Having said that, though, every prayer, every spirituality, every Christian must appreciate the fact that spirituality goes in two dimensions, from the dimension of God and from the dimension of the individual. You can go to Achia, and if you are not properly disposed spiritually, you will not get anything. You will come back the same. Nothing will happen. Okay. It all depends on how you position yourself spiritually. And you can go to Jerusalem, or you can go to Mecca, you can go to any place. If spirituality is such that if you don't position yourself well, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And I think that is a caution for all of us, so that we don't think that whether it is Mount Sinai or it is Achia or wherever, just because you go there, something will happen. No, it all depends on how we position ourselves spiritually.
Okay. So, Prof, to what extent should this practice of going to solitary places like Achia Mountain be encouraged among Christians?
Well, let me say that, let me start with you yourself. I think that you should create a solitary place in your house. If possible, every Christian must create a solitary time, even if it's 30 minutes every day, just to have talk with God. This is what in Christian circles we call quiet time. And so the quiet time means creating a solitary space so that one could really have if you like, a special relationship with God in prayer through the word and so on. And for me, that is very key. That strengthens you for the day. I believe every Christian must have that. And then beyond that, that's why sometimes we go to church. Church is supposed to also be a special place where we have concentration on God. And beyond that, there are times when we can go for a retreat. And to go for a retreat, it doesn't have to be at Chia Mountains. It can be, some people can even go to a hotel. Some people can go to places that they know they can have some quietness. And if you would ask me, just like every car needs some overhauling, every quarter, I would suggest that every normal Christian could just take some few days off and retreat. And to me, it doesn't have to be Atria. It just has to be a solitary place. Every quarter, if you retreat and re-strengthen yourself spiritually, it will really help.
Okay.
There are some people who already live in solitary places. They don't have to go anywhere. So my suggestion then is that if for a normal Christian life, for a good discipleship menu, I would say every quarter, every Christian should really have some time off with God. If you're a Christian leader like a pastor, I would say every month would be helpful. Okay. So that's the way I'll go at it.
All right, Prof, I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much for your time here. So as you saw in that Achia, I'm sure you can also take that trip through the picturesque Achia Mountains in the Ashanti region. Now, moving on to other stories. In 2018, government commenced the construction of 10 multi-purpose youth resource centers across the country that were to be completed in 9 months. 5 years on, the project have been abandoned and left to rot. Joy Sports brings you a special report from each of those facilities, starting with the Azuma Nelson Youth Resource Center at Kaneshie.
This is the Azuma Nelson Sports Youth Resource Center, named after legendary Ghanaian boxer Azuma Nelson. The facility was supposed to serve as a multi-purpose sports center fit enough to accommodate more than 40 different sporting disciplines when completed. Also known as the Kaneshie Sports Complex, the facility was built during the era of the Supreme Military Council and the General Achampong in the 1970s. It served as a training base for teams during AFCON 1978, which Ghana hosted and won. Since then, however, years of neglect had placed on the back burner the plans of the people running sports in the country. Various governments had made promises to upgrade the facility to its stature as a functioning multi-purpose sports center, but none had made good on their promises. But in March 2018, then Sports Minister Isaac Esiama finally commissioned renovation works to start on the facility.
We are securing the future of Ghana sports through this investment. And I can tell you, in the next 20 years, Ghanaians will remember one person called President Akufo-Addo for the huge investment he made in sports. This huge one. Across the country, we are going to do all these things. By November, you will see 10 multi-purpose youth centers. That can take off about 5,000 people. Sitting capacity 5,000. So we can even play some of the national matches. Understand? Yes, big matches. Black Queens can come and play maybe in Wa, because we're going to do one in Wa. They can go to Navrongo. Going to do one in Navrongo. They can go to Nehini. Going to do one in Nehini. So it's going to be across the country, spread across the country, so that everywhere you go, you have quality, modern sporting facility.
That was former Sports Minister Isaac Esiama in March 2018. It was supposed to be the dawn of a new era for sports infrastructure in the country. When completed, it was supposed to seat up to 5,000 people with a swimming pool and all kinds of adjoining facilities, including a running track to go with. And it was supposed to cost some $4 million and just 9 months to complete.
Each contractor has 9 months to complete the project. If we factor in the rainy season, it depends on the intensity of rain. It could go up to 11 or 12 months, not more.
But nearly 5 years later, this is the state of the project. In December of 2021, the new sports minister, Mustafa Yusuf, stated that the project was 90% complete.
If we are going to be able to identify talent in the various regions or our various communities, we can't do that without these facilities being completed. So government is committed, especially when we have already invested so much in these facilities. We can't abandon. And it's the same government. Government is continuous. And so the assurance can be getting from me. What I've realized that it was in phases. So we have phase 1, phase 2. So currently, I've engaged the consultant working on it and also the National Youth Authority, which is the agency that supervises those projects. So I can give you assurance that, yes, those facilities will be completed on time so that the identification of talent in the various regions where we have this facility, we can use those as a center. Even as one Nelson Sports Complex, Carnation Sports Complex, can also even be used during the games.
Of course.
People can go there and compete, especially on football. It's media standard. So it's something that we are working on and to ensure that we get it done. Some of them were 90%, 70%, and 80%. There are various stages of completion.
And he wasn't wrong, because at the time, the stands were done. The pitch was done. It was looking green and lush. But barely a year later, this is the state of it. Abandoned and left to become a breeding ground for all kinds of reptiles. The Azuma Nelson Sports Complex is not befitting of the legend it's named after. In its current state, only animals can play sport here. At the time of abandonment, the project was indeed close to completion. With the VIP stand constructed and roofed, the 4 stands constructed and the seats fixed. The drainage system had also been done, and the groundswork had been prepared for the Titan tracks to be laid. All of that, however, has now been left to rot. The compound is bordered by walls of weeds, and the facility, in totality, has now become a breeding ground for reptiles, which have made here a happy home. Dammers and moles have eaten the white paint-coated goalposts, giving them an unpleasant look of distress. The football pitch is strangled by weeds, with the VIP stand divided by a risky pit. The renovation of the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex, also known as the Carnation Sports Complex, was part of government's aggressive sports infrastructural drive and is the first of 10 being constructed across the country. Government said it formed part of efforts to address the sports infrastructure deficit in Ghana. The facilities, when completed, would each house an 8-lane athletic track, a FIFA standard pitch, career counseling center, basketball and handball court, as well as a multi-purpose sports hall, a restaurant, and an ICT center. The mini stadiums would also have a seating capacity of 5,000. The most disappointing thing about this place is that it looks like it was actually this close to completion. A majority of the money had already been spent, and what was left to finish the project was only a fraction. But that fraction hasn't come. And of course the contractors departed, and the place has now degenerated into this eyesore.
Wow, that's a very sad development for this country. Now, before we even start the conversation on the sports facility, here's what you must know about the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex. Let's share with you some of the things that you need to understand about, the sports complex here. How much we know was pushed in there, how much was spent, and where we are. We understand there was $4 million. The remaining money that was to be pushed in there was $400,000. So it means that they have spent $3.6 million. Now, it's built in the era of the Supreme Military Council. That's when the sports complex was built under General Achampon. It was used as a training base for teams doing AFCON in 1978, which Ghana hosted and won. So that's a bit on the Azuma Sports Complex. Now, it served as home for Hearts of Oak and Olympics in the 2007 season when Accra Sports Stadium was being renovated for AFCON 2008. Now, It also hosted international boxing bouts, including Kojo versus Clint McNeil in 2005. If you watch that particular bout, you remember. Now, it has been a recreational facility for schools and students in Accra and beyond for years. Now, secondary and primary schools make use of that sports complex. It's used by more than 50 primary and secondary schools for inter-school competitions in the Greater Accra region. It was renamed Azuma Nelson Sports Complex by President Kufuor to honor the former boxer. But what is the fate of this honor than this legend? Well, there you saw it. But Muftau Nobela joins me in studio with Muftau. Very, very shocking and sad development.
Very shocking.
How did we get here?
Actually, I was at that press conference when Isaac Isiama announced that they were going to invest like $4 million into the renovation of the facility. And I've been one person who has frequented the facility since they started work on it. And I've had the privilege of speaking to the project manager, the consultant, the engineer on site, and even people at the Ministry of Youth and Sports and then the National Youth Authority. We got to a point in 2020, after 2020 elections, where the government decided they were going to change the Minister of Youth and Sports, Isaac Isiama, and bring in Mustafa Yusuf as the Minister of Youth and Sports. So when he came into office, one of the things we were told was that the National Youth Authority, the board had been dissolved because a letter was sent from the Chief of Staff to all agencies to dissolve their boards because of the elections and all that. So the person who was put in charge as the acting Chief Executive Officer of the National Sports Authority did not have the mandate to spend more than 100,000 Ghana cedis. He needed a board to approve the monies for him to go and spend. And because there was no board, there was no investment on the facility. So this is what we have now.
I mean, from the way the facility has deteriorated too, do we know how much we now need to bring it back to where it was and to complete?
I think we will need another $4 million. In fact, I've had the privilege of speaking to people who are working on the project. And what they tell me is that if they want to start all over again, it means that we'll need to spend maybe close to $2 million for it. And even as we speak, I was made to understand that they are changing even the consultant for the facility. Because it was supposed to be done in phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 was complete. The seats, everything was fixed. We were just about wrapping it up for people to start using the place. And all of a sudden, this is what we have.
So it's under the Ministry of Youth and Sports?
It's a National Youth Authority who are investing in the facility.
Okay.
It's a National Youth Authority.
And what's the source of funding?
It's a youth authority who is funding it. If you go to their projects on their website, it's part of the stuff they're doing. 10 multi-purpose youth facilities that they are doing in the country. So there's no one else who something. And it's the most expensive. $4 million. The rest were told we got them like $1.8 million, $2 million, and all that. But because of the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex, we were made to understand they wanted to have floodlights, they wanted so that they could play matches under floodlights and all that. So it was going to cost them that much. But unfortunately, this is where we are as a country.
Wow. So if anybody should take a responsibility, it should be the youth authority.
The National Youth Authority, it is their facility.
What's the minister saying about it, having looked on for this to deteriorate?
We spoke to the minister himself, and he said, he's committed to completing the facility.
Where is his commitment when this is staring at him in the face?
It's not only this one.
Yes,
we've been to Yendi, we've been to Koforidua, we've been to...
have you been to Axim?
Axim. As
okay,
hometown. Is it a
Chumam Ponia?
We've been there. In fact, even that facilities, bushfires have cleared the grasses that were planted for us to play football on.
So if the minister tells you he's committed, did you ask him where is his commitment when the
so in the conversation that we had with the minister, and this is actually on record, in the conversation that we had with the minister, he told us that government is continuous and his office is committed to ensuring that the facilities are completed. The commitment is in word. As to whether it is in cash to ensure the facilities are completed, that is another thing to be spoken about.
Was that the interview you played in there?
Oh, yeah, that was the interview.
He seemed so relaxed and not bothered by what was happening.
That's a different matter.
Yeah, he seemed so relaxed for my liking. But for a ministry that has pumped $3.6 million into a facility to degenerate into this level, and for the minister to relax the way he was, he seemed not bothered by it. Because if you are left with $400,000 for you to complete a project, and you start aloof, watched on for this to happen, I mean, no serious person should be okay with
I remember yesterday, Gomez asked me a question, whether if there is any single sector in this country that is functioning. I shudder to say there isn't any.
Anyway, so we have the Vice President of Ghana Athletics, Charles Osei-Sibe, also joining us via Zoom with more on this. I'm grateful, sir, that you could join us here. How do you feel as someone in sports when this facility is shown to you? Okay. Interesting. We'll be joining him, but I'm sure we'll have him in our subsequent bulletins. But those of you in the sports fraternity, when you meet to discuss about this sport, what becomes your final conclusion?
The conclusion is that it appears sports is absolutely nothing that is appreciated by people who are put in charge of its governance. If you need facilities to be able to groom talents, and you decide that you're going to roll out a plan of providing sports facilities across the country for young talents, and after pumping, say, $3.6 million into it, and you allow it to get to this stage, come on, everyone will question your commitment to ensuring that you have the future of the next generation at heart. And this is where we are, Grace.
Well, so I'm grateful to you.
Thanks.
And kudos for that. No, they say kudos for that good
kudos.
work that you've done.
Kudos.
Kudos for that good work you've done. Grateful. I'm not only sad, but I'm angry as well, seeing what has been done there. But we'll keep an eye. Waiting for that one. We'll keep an eye on that one. Now, moving on to other stories and taking you to Nigeria. Nigeria's ruling party candidate Bola Tinubu has been declared the winner of the country's presidential election. The 70-year-old veteran politician got 37% of the vote, official results show. His main rival, Atiku Abubakar, polled 29%, and Labour's Peter Obi polled 25%. Their parties had earlier dismissed the poll as a sham and demanded a rerun. Mr. Tinubu based his campaign on his record of rebuilding the biggest city in Nigeria, Lagos, when he was governor of that state. He was nevertheless defeated in the city by Mr. Obi, a relatively newcomer who mobilized the support of many young people, especially in urban areas, shaking up the country's two-party system. Mr. Tinubu won most of other states in his home region of the Southwest, where he is known as a political godfather who helps put others into office. Here is INEC declaring him winner after collation.
That Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Ghana's consumption of cocoa and chocolate products has increased significantly from an average of 0.5 to 1 kilogram annually, according to Cocoa Board. This it describes as a huge milestone considering the low levels of consumption previously. Now, speaking to inaugurate the National Planning Committee of the Promotion of Cocoa Consumption in the country, Chief Executive Joseph Wine Edu said Ghana needs to consume more locally produced cocoa products to enable farmers get more value. Here's more.
The inauguration of the committee is crucial in Ghana Cocoa Board's quest to increase consumption to about 5 kilograms a year in the near future. With the world average chocolate consumption estimated at 0.9 kilograms per capita a year, Ghana is now consuming 1 kilogram per capita a year after a series of campaigns to get the products in various local institutions. Chief Executive of Cocoa Board said this significant jump in consumption will add to the value for cocoa farmers in the near future.
Average in Europe is 5 kilograms per head. Switzerland is 11 kilograms per head. Germany, 9.1. Estonia, 8.3. Per capita chocolate consumption per year for Africa is 0.5 kilogram. And Ghana is now 1 kilogram. The global chocolate industry, from bean to bar, is estimated between 130 billion and 150 billion United States dollars annually. Unfortunately, only between 6% and 6.6% of this projected amount comes to the producers, an indication that the real value of cocoa is in the processing and value addition.
The 9-member committee, chaired by the Deputy Director of Public Affairs of Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, is to ensure promotion of cocoa products and domestic consumption in all sectors of the economy. He therefore assures of all efforts to make chocolate products available for local consumption.
Already, we've seen the commitment demonstrated by the management of Cocoa Board, but we believe that it requires more than the commitment that has been shown, and we need more commitment and support to achieve the various proposals that will come out from this committee. And we'll plead that when these proposals come before you and other state actors, it shall be given the necessary attention and support to make it work. When the industry improves, benefits will be there for all of us. In fact, it will create employment. It will bring in foreign exchange.
Terms of reference for the committee includes developing a strategy document for the generic promotion of cocoa consumption in the country, among others.
Now, former CEO of Stanbic Bank Ghana, Dr. Alhassan Andani, is urging real estate developers to manage their capital to enable them survive these turbulent economic times. According to him, it would not be profitable for developers to borrow money to invest in their projects, considering the current economic crisis and the incessant increase in prices of materials. He spoke at the annual CEO's breakfast meeting.
The Ghana Real Estate Developers Association's annual CEO's breakfast meeting was held under the theme Overcoming the Turbulence in the Current Financial Crisis and the Impact on the Real Estate Industry. Members of the association outlined the rising cost of materials, shortage of skilled labor, and low technology adoption as some of the challenges bedeviling the real estate industry. In an interview, former CEO of Stanbic Bank Ghana Limited, Dr. Alhassan Andani, advised real estate developers to preserve their capital and avoid borrowing, since it could be costly due to the rapid increase in the cost of materials.
I think the current economic environment, characterized by very high interest rates, characterized by high exchange rates, and a lot of governmental pressure, because this economy is driven largely by government activity, government trying to reorganize its own affairs. I think anybody in the real estate sector must be taking some time to refocus their business, preserve their capital, ensure that they can let go of certain high market margins and recover whatever capital sits in their current assets.
And that's it for Business. News Desk returns after this break.
Today's bulletin, there's more on myjoyonline.com. Now, once it's Ghana month, Yalabasi Kibuhralie is a year doko. No, Good morning.